So hello guys, how are you doing? Today is finally that day that we are able to present to you the new Audi RS3, and this even is the sedan version. We will look at all the details and the cool parts about it, talk a bit about the technical upgrades that the car is, and you've already seen our RS3 Sportback video of the Pure Sound video a few weeks ago. But today, it's finally the day that we can see the car without the camouflage, and I think it just looks amazing, even in this, let's say, very unusual and green color. So let's start with the rear of the car, because of course with the sedans, this is always the coolest part. You have really the feeling that compared to the previous generation S3 and RS3 sedan, that the rear end looks even better, because the car is not that short anymore at the rear side, but the rear slope just feels more mature, more grown up. And also, if you're looking at the car from the rear end, we've already seen a lot of pictures of the S3 in the past that looks nice, but the R3, even better. You have those wider parts and bottom parts of the diffuser, which increase the width of the car from a visual perspective. And if you look very closely, you can also see that you have wider fenders, of course, in the rear, and a lot wider fender at the front axle. Maybe talking about the power first. Some would now say it's a bit of a shame that the engine is still 400 HP, but there's a big but. They've increased the torque up to 500 Newton meters. Of course, also how a transmission and engine are playing together is greatly improved. We could already see that and feel that on our drive with the RS3 Sportback on a closed track a few weeks ago. And on the other hand, also the claimed 0 to 100 time has been increased, and therefore I think the performance of this car will still improve despite the fact that it only has the same 400 HP. From a design perspective, of course, there are many important parts. Let's talk first about the front axle, because that is probably the main differentiation to the normal car. You can see from the fender perspective that this car sticks out a lot further, and you can just see the width of that front axle, which is also being supported by this vent, which is of course increasing the aerodynamics and letting hot air from the brakes go alongside the car. The next thing that I really like is how they integrated the exhaust system in the rear diffuser. First of all, the rear diffuser looks a bit more aggressive than with our previous model, so the facelifted model, but also how the exhaust tips are integrated looks a lot more premium. Reminds me a bit actually of the R8's exhaust system. Really nicely done. And some of you have probably already seen that with the S3 there's like a first edition or edition 1 where you can even get a bigger carbon fiber spoiler, and we asked the question, this is also possible for this RS model, so it looks even cooler likely if you have that spoiler in the back, and probably of course increase even that aggressiveness of the rear end of the sedan. Secondly, you also have the possibility to get this side skirt in carbon fiber, which is already sticking out quite far for a regular R3 model, and that probably will increase even the looks in the end. Another cool feature that I will try to show you in a short clip now is that they actually have a little signature. Once you turn on the car, it actually says RS3 in this lower part here, and in the end a checkered flag. I think that is a nice gamification factor that you get, and specifically at night, something really cool that the light signature is telling which kind of model you have. Last but not least, let's talk about from an exterior perspective about the tire. They're actually running a 265 tire. I don't know if you can see that. 265 30 R19 in the front. There's also the possibility now to get track-focused tires on this car, and of course that should increase the grip of that entire car at the front axle, and also plays well together with one technical highlight that the car now has, because we have a torque splitter at the rear axle, which actually helps to shuffle power to the inner wheel of the curve and actually makes the car a lot more agile. It's a very tricky system that we have already seen in a similar manner already in the new Golf R, and works very, very well. We've already seen that also in the outside footage of the RS3 Sportback in our Pure Sound video. I will put also the link in here that you find that, how capable that car is. Without further talking from the outside, I think it's now time to take a look at the inside of the car. So the first look inside shows already that we have the nice RS design pack in here. That means we have an Alcantara steering wheel, we have the green stitches that also fits to the green parts of this pack, and of course also we have contrast stitching and contrast parts in the seats if you order this RS design pack in green. And I think in the end that's pretty nice, because those accents really let the interior come alive. And also, usually I'm not a big fan, let's say, of this middle section in contrast, but for this car and with the green parts, and you likely can also get it in red and some other colors, that really works well. Other than that, of course, everything seems to be pretty familiar. We have those RS flappy pedals. You can also see it from the back that they have a nice back, which is not plastic, but they really have a premium feel and a premium look. And of course also the leather is really nice in here. That's probably also the package that we would take. Overall also having a bit of carbon fiber here, which is matte, also fits very well to the interior part. You can also see that carbon fiber here, probably very easy to clean and looks a lot more premium than the options that we saw in the S3 until now. And for the first time ever in an RS3 model now, you have the possibility to actually go to a dedicated RS performance mode. So if you're looking into Drive Select, you see that we not only have efficiency in addition now, and the comfort, auto and dynamic as you know them, and on the right hand side you are now seeing that we have RS individual, we have RS performance, and we even have RS torque rear. So torque rear is pretty easy. That of course means that you have most power going to the rear wheels, and you can more or less do something like a drift mode. RS performance is the quickest setting that you can get if you want to have the perfect time on the Nürburgring, if you want a perfect launch control and perfect 0 to 200 time, something like that. RS performance is the way, and RS individual of course is the possibility that you can change the setting like you want them. And as usual, like they do it in the Audi cars, if you go into the individual settings, you also have the possibility to say, okay, RS performance, I even want the steering to be the most aggressive one, I want the ESC for example to be in dynamic, and then of course the rest, as RS already tells, like engine etc., is in the most sporty setting. Also the center console view, I'm honestly not 100% sure how they have it in the current S3, so everybody that's owning already an S3 can maybe talk about what the settings are that are in. You can of course, once you hit that view button, toggle through the different views that you have. Oh, that animation looks really slick, and change between different views and speedometer. I also believe that once you go to the main menu again, you have the possibility to go to the display mode and also say, okay, I want to configure my virtual cockpit, and then you can go through to the RS mode, which we're currently having. You can of course go to the normal, more regular mode with the round display, as you know it from an RS6 for example, or the other cars, which I really like, because you have this analog speedometer and kind of analog rev counter here. And of course you know that RS performance mode, which we already seen, this is the mode that you can go into. I think there's nice changes. I would probably go even with that mode right here. Last thing, the RS monitor is also something new now for those cars on MQB basis. You have the possibility to see what is going on with your engine, what the temperatures are in your car, the G meter is in there, and of course also an overview about the tire pressure. Everything works really slick, honestly I have to say. It seems to be that there were some improvements. Really looking forward also to drive that car on the road and try that out for a test car for a few weeks. Other than that, I would say that's about it what we can show today. I hope you enjoyed this first glimpse at the new RS3 sedan. I think really also in person the car looks really nice. I'm not sure if I would actually go for the green color, and I would probably also pick some other rims. But of course there are a lot of options to really configure your car as you want it, and we are really in the game currently for trying to ordering one of those cars. I could imagine something like floret silver on that car, even in a matte effect, plus of course the rear spoiler, the bigger rear spoiler, the black pack or the carbon fiber pack. I think also then those parts at the front and the wide fenders would come across really nice. That is probably the spec that we're currently looking at. Hope you enjoyed the video, and of course we are all very excited to drive this car on the road very soon.